First of all, I want to weigh the pack. I have a luggage scale here. Now I am weighing this with no food, no water, but I do have a jumper and my waterproofs. And base weight isn't usually considered part of things like clothing, so it is going to be lighter without that jumper, socks, underwear, t-shirt that I've got in this pack. So take that into account. Let's turn it on and weigh it off. Glasses on for this one, I'm afraid. What have I got here? 21.6 pound. Let me just flick it over into kilometers so I understand it. 9.8. And turn that back off before I dead the battery on the weigh scale. 9.8. Under 10 kilos. So this is kit without compromise. I'm not going to compromise good eating. I'm not going to compromise being warm for the night. I'm not going to compromise how comfortable I am. I'm not going to compromise how waterproof I am. Now you can go down the road of being a lot lighter than this. You can halve that, but it's very expensive. And in an upcoming video next week, I think it is actually, you're going to see me pack how the Americans do and the Europeans, the Germans, the French and other thru hikers that I've met who pack very, very differently, and I've adopted that way of packing and thinking, which is very different to how a Brit does it. So kit without compromise. I'm not going to compromise anything. Yeah, I want things a lot lighter, and I think you'll agree, what was it, 9.8 is pretty good. It doesn't include the weight of the water, and really it shouldn't include the clothes, but I'll show you. I'm not going to compromise how sheltered I am. I have a tent. This one is just 1.4 kilos. There are a lot lighter on the market, and there are some that are more compact. But again, we're doing it on a kind of a budget. The tents you might already have, but this is a two-person for 1.4 kilos. That's hard to beat. There are single tents that are around 700-800 grams. So yeah, I can get a lot lighter, but that will be part of a different video of reducing this weight even more. And part of that video will be seen next week. So before that, in the comments, yes, I know 1.4 isn't particularly hyper light, but it is considered lightweight, not hyper light. I want something warm to sleep on, and I'm using the IOU system, which is in, under and on. I need something to sleep on. On could be an air pad or a foam roll. Now this is going to be your choice, which you prefer. I have chosen something that is about, I think, 900 grams plus. It's not the lightest. You want to see lighter, you're going to have to watch next week's video, where it's much the same components but a lot lighter. So a different tent that is lighter and a different air pad that is lighter. But already I have good insulation, so I've got something to lie on. I have good shelter, something to get in, under. I just need in, being a sleeping bag. I want the ability to cook. So here's my cook set, not including the fuel. That's never included as part of the base weight. I don't make the rules, that's just it. And then a sleeping bag, which I'm going to bring you in closer now to have a look at. Often this is where the confusion is, your sleeping bag. A lot of people will see they have a sleeping bag rated, and they use that rating for the low point, which you should never do. Never do. I'm going to quickly explain that. I'm sure you already know, but for those who don't, it's going to be, let's just say, +5 tonight, and that's Celsius because I'm here in the UK. So I'm going to buy a sleeping bag that says +5. That's its lower limit. you've already hit the comfort and gone beyond. So you are no longer in the comfort range, you are now cooling down. And a lot of people will buy a -5 or +5 for 5 degrees, wonder why it's cold and say sleeping bag is rubbish. The way you do it is you Google up what the likely temperatures are going to be 3 o'clock in the morning on the date you want to camp, and you need a sleeping bag that is capable of going lower by 10 degrees. So if I said it was +5 tonight, I want one that's -5, comfort of -5. And sure, the sleeping bag's going to be bulkier and have more weight. You're not going to save weight and then still have the comfort. Remember I said camping without compromise, or kit without compromise. I always allow for a luxury item. This is a sheet that goes over my pad, and members will know why I do that. Put my air pad inside a sheet. So I do allow for luxury items. This is the Buffalo sleeping bag. It is a Pertex shell and an Aquatherm fleece lining. Look at that pile fleece. And Buffalo don't give a lower temperature rating, and I thought that was weird at first, and then I thought actually that's clever because there's no comeback on them. See what you like at those temperatures, and then you'll know whether you're going to bring one part or both parts. Then you found your personal lower temperature limit. Now I bought a bivvy bag. This is nylon, centre zip, as is the Buffalo. I may as well get it out while I'm here. So I could forgo the 1.4 kilo tent and sleep under the stars if it's not going to rain. Save myself a bit of weight there. But I did say without compromise. So in other words, a bit of luxury, you know. So would I bring this here, a bivvy and a tent? It has been known. I'm a cold sleeper. So let's lay that out as well. Access through the bottom is something to wear. A warm kit. It can be accessed from the bottom because this pack here has a separation, a divider on the very base here, so I don't have to dig to the bottom to get a warm jumper out. This warm jumper is also by Buffalo, but it doesn't have to be. It just so happens I saved up for this. Remember, I am not gifted anything by any company. The channel is run by the donations of strangers and subscribers who donate to the channel. This is just another Buffalo. It is Pertex shell with an Aquatherm fleece, just like the sleeping bag. It's kind of a head over, so there are no buttons or zip down the front. And I know there was a couple of you wanting a part 2 to this video of me doing this, and I did say when it snows and it's cold, I'll put nothing but this on and we'll see. And people ask, well, where's that video? Well, it's not snowed and it's not likely to until those conditions. But so far, if I was to put this on tonight, it's not overly warm when you're stationary, but it's lovely and warm while you're walking. But if you're walking in this, you can also be too hot and sweat out. So, yeah, I've got to think it through a little more. In here, hat, gloves, underwear, got hat, socks, underwear. It's only 24 hours. And obviously you're going to pack accordingly, and what dictates trip duration is the amount of food you're going to bring with you. Not a bit noisy, that. Not the amount of clothing you bring, okay? I've got everything laid out now of that 9.8 kilos. It did also include on the front of the pack rain pants. and I haven't brought my top half with me because I'm still working on it. I want something good. But these are insulated pants, rain pants, because these trousers here I'm wearing are not warm. So let's lay it all out and have a look how many individual components, the minimum I can get away with without compromising comfort, being well fed, being dry, warm, etc. And I'm happy with this. Remember, it's only 9.8 kilos. So here it is laid out. There's not many individual components, as you can see. So I have a sleeping bag there. Although mine has a bivvy cover on, you can forego that. Waterproof leggings there, 2-piece. There is warm kit. Now that warm kit could be anything. You want a warm jumper, such as a fleece, a wool jumper, merino wool, aquatherm, you choose. I'm not going to dictate to you in this video. A tent, an air pad, and even a luxury item. I would have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6-piece. What about all the other things I need, such as incidentals and an IFAC and things like that? Well, it stands to reason that could be a different video in itself. So while I pack away, I'll quickly talk about my incidentals kit. So incidentals kit will be things like illumination, ablutions, maybe a fire making kit, water purification, and then an IFAC, individual first aid kit. Most people confuse that with some sort of military based trauma pack. I don't buy into that for weekend camping. I just don't. The likelihood of me needing a tourniquet because I think I'm going to blow my leg off on an IED while weekend camping, I think the chances of that is minimal. I don't address that issue. I only address issues that are more likely to happen, such as blisters and twisted ankles, things like that. So that was 2 sleeping bags, just went into the main body there. And I do pack in a certain order. I'm just going to pop a air pad in. Now this could be a foam roll. I'm not going to get into arguments over foam and air. Obviously that is personal choice. And there are a lot of videos on YouTube that I really dislike. The person in the video is telling you what to do. And I could do that for you. I could make videos such as, you're using the wrong kit. Don't use foam rolls. Use air pads. And I could also do other videos. You're using the wrong air pad. Don't use the one you've got. Use the one I've got. And I hate them videos. That is dictatorship. These people think they've had it all worked out. You're wrong and they're right. On bexbugoutsurvivor, I offer options. I don't treat you like you're 6 years old. I don't think you are. Some of you act it in the comments, but to be quite honest, I've got a button called block and ban and they're gone. They're idiots. I don't get paid for doing this channel. So I have a really warm layer to sleep in. I have a really thick, wide, long air pad full of feathers. It's not the lightest. Neither is the sleeping bag. The sleeping bag is 2-part, 1.1 kilos and 1.6 kilos. So I think they're somewhere around 2.8 kilos. It's not light, like I said. I do allow for luxury items, and I will do a video on luxury items because I have a few of them, but I only allow for 1 or 2 on every trip. Now that luxury item might be something like this little sheet, which really helps me out when I'm camping somewhere like here. I also have other luxury items and I would love to tell you what they are, but that's a different video. Okay, where are we up to? The clothing goes down the bottom, which I'm going to put in last. The tent, I travel on top of the pack, although it doesn't have to. There's plenty of room inside. I'm going to choose a cook set that works for me. You're going to choose a cook set that works for you. Again, you're using the wrong cook set. And isn't it funny how those videos command the most respect? Plenty of views, read through the comments. Yes, you're right. I've been doing it wrong all this time. And you're doing it right. These people are sheeple. They're sheeple. They follow like sheep. Are you a sheeple? Or have you got the good brains to think, that is not for me, and I get it, that's for him. This is for me. Nice thin unit here, which does include a stove and utensils, pretty much everything I want. And there is plenty of room left over in here for me to stop at the corner shop and get myself some food and pop it in there. The only thing I don't put in my little dry sack 3 litre, 3 litres by the way is plenty for everything you need other than the fuel. I do carry the fuel separately on the outside. If you are using something like liquid fuel for a liquid alcohol stove, I don't travel it with the food through chances of contamination, cross-contamination. So yes, I do travel it on the outside. I don't want stinky fuel all over some steak that I've just bought and I'm going to fry up for the night. And yeah, if you want to go lightweight with your food, we've done 100 videos on that already, which leads me to something else I want to talk about just while I pack this in. Notice this time the tent has gone in and it's not strapped to the top, neither does it have to be. Instead, I think I'll strap my waterproofs to the top. That just leaves a bag of warm kit. I did have one guy, an armchair know-it-all, full of them this channel. I try and get rid of them as quick as I can, these armchair know-it-alls. But he said you don't need warm kit, you can make it a lot lighter. I saw another guy and he never had a warm kit. Why have you got a warm kit? You're doing it wrong. The other guy's doing it right. Okay, what makes the viewer think you're going to have the same temperatures at night as you do the day? It's a beautiful day today. I've only got a t-shirt on. Am I going to get away with this t-shirt prior to me getting into the sleeping bag? No, it's going to start cooling right down. And I might not want to have a fire to keep me warm because I'm stupid enough to bring a t-shirt. Try and keep your clothing separate from your rest of your kit for when it does go cold. This goes down the bottom of the pack, which does have a separation. I'll show you how I do mine. I've opened up my pack with the separation. There is my sleeping bag. Now I'm going to turn my whole pack upside down. Squash the sleeping bag to the head. This way I know I've got access to warm kit and I know it's going to fit in each and every time, although the zips on this are a little tricky. That is why I only allow a certain amount of literage in the bottom there for warm kit. Now, it's all well and good having warm kit, turn it the other way around, but if that warm kit gets wet, it's no longer warm. If you've missed out on other videos talking about my cold, wet and dry layers, there are videos on the channel. I suggest you go and look. This used to be strapped to the front. I'm going to strap it onto the top. On this particular pack, I have 2 side pockets and they are generous. Plenty big enough to house a 1 litre bottle either side. And I even have a little top that I screw on with a drinks hose. So it's like a hose from a bladder. It is on the channel if you want to see that. It's one of my favourite bits of kit. Alternatively, this pack, I can slip a bladder down, but I find bladders eat valuable space. And of course, there are shoulder sling options also for water. Not many individual components. I had a sleeping bag, I had my waterproofs, my clothes, something like a tent, and then my pad, and I think we counted 6 off the top of my head. But I had a luxury item as well, which isn't usually included for your eyes until the night camps. But yeah, I do have luxury items. If I think I've packed particularly well and I haven't overpacked and I thought it through, then I think, do you know what, I deserve a treat, and I'm going to put it in, and that's my choice to carry that luxury item. I'm going to give you an example. How many people have you seen absolutely moan that they will not bring a little bit of dish soap with them in a specimen container, as I do, because I can wash myself with it, pits, bits. I can clean underwear using my dry sack as a kind of a washing machine, almost a washing up bowl. That way I can clean clothing that has become dirty and dry it out in the daytime sun. A little bit of soap, about maybe 6-7 grams worth, and a little scouring pad from a pot. Again, it's going to be under 20 grams. Remember, I think there's 28 grams to an ounce, so I've done the conversions for you there. And then this other person will complain about a gram or 2 of soap and a green scourer for cleaning, and then you'll get to camp and break open some tins of beer. You'll have 2, maybe 3 tins of beer. Head slap moment. Again, I read through the comments. Nobody's picked up on it. Nobody's picked up on it. They go, yes, I wouldn't bring soap either. I'd rather have smelly testicles and be unshaven and have lice in my pubes. Fair enough. And sweat rashes and smell. Good. But please don't complain about such minimal weight items and then mess it up with lots of tins of beer, which is unnecessary. I see it as a luxury item, those tins of beer, but if you're going to do that, have really heavy luxury items, then you can't complain about the smaller stuff that you see other people putting in, such as me with a little vial of liquid soap. I'm not going to show my first aid kit to the Friday viewers. Instead, that will be for members only. Again, it's too subjective, too many arguments, armchair experts, and yet the armchair expert is always right. The guy who with plenty of experience is always wrong. To me, that is like the fat guy at the end of a bar watching a football match, and he's got a shirt on with a number 7 on or something, shouting at the TV, I could have scored from there. I'm thinking, no, you can't. You're 22 stone, you're out of breath, going to the toilet. You're talking crap. Anyway, that is 9.8 kilos with 6 elements in. I think is a really good trade-off. So it is kit without compromise. I'm going to be super warm. I'm going to be super comfortable. I'll be eating super food. And I'll be layered up very well and waterproof if I need it. I need to sort out a poncho to put on. The one I've got isn't very good. That's why it's not featured here. Neither is my first aid featured here for the reasons I told you. It's too subjective. If you want to put an army style first aid pack in because you're really concerned you're going to stand on an IED and blow your leg off, go down the road of a trauma pack. If you were sensible and all you're doing is 1 or 2 nights while camping like this, I'm not worried about standing on an IED. I have everything I want here. It is kit without compromise. I'm not compromising how warm I am, how well I'm eating, how dry I am, in other words. There's no compromise, and yet I am well under that 16, 17 kilos other people struggle with. So this is more about a mentality training exercise. Kit without compromise. Tell yourself you want to be warm, dry and well fed. If you only cater for that, you could be lighter than even this, because you wouldn't have the spare jumper, the head torch, a wash kit, and even the first aid kit. That could be a pocket carry if you wanted, in a tin. That could be a pocket carry. So yeah, you could really go lighter than me. So I hope this has helped you somewhere along the line of getting up here sorted. Not this. This sorts itself out. Get up here sorted. You want to be warm, dry, well fed. Cater for that and you'll be fine. There are things, on the other hand, such as illumination, ablutions, fire making kit, along with these spare batteries. With first aid, I'm going to leave that up to you. If you want a soldier's trauma pack, put one in. If you want a first aid pack, put one in. You could even buy one off the shelf, but I don't like them. I'd rather make my own. Now, if you want to know how I make my own first aid pack, not a trauma pack, then that is coming up for members to watch as a bonus video. So if you want to use a different sleeping bag, a different pad, a different tent, a different pot to cook in, they're acceptable. That's your option. Just as these pieces of kit are my options, my preferences, and I don't expect your preference to be the same as mine. Instead, all we're looking at is to limit your individual components. So before you leave to go trekking, lay all your individual components you want to take. You know you're going to want a sleeping bag, maybe a top quilt, a wool blanket, I don't care, your choices. You know you're going to want something to sleep on, like an air pad, a self-inflating pad, or a foam roll. Again, I don't care, your choice. I have my choice. And lay it out. You might need a tent. Now that could also be a bivvy or a tarp. Again, your choice. Put it on the floor. Lay it out in your house before you go. You know you're going to want things like an ablutions kit, illumination, batteries for that illumination, so forth. And that can be no bigger than, say, a litre. And lay it all out with a spare jumper, a pot to cook with, and the ability to heat the foods with any stove and any pot you want. Once it's all laid out in front of you at home, then you find a pack that is big enough to cater for what you're taking. Too many people fall into the trap of starting with a big pack and forcing everything down like that, seeing that there's more space available and putting more in. You should never do that. Start off knowing what you're taking, put it in your pack, and that's it. That is how this is kit without compromise at 9.8 kilos, well under my 10 kilos, 2.2 pounds to a kilo. So this weight will increase by the time I've got my first aid kit in, my incidentals kit, and a poncho, although I have the leg section here. So really, this is just an insight to minimizing the individual components that you're putting in the pack and having a better mindset. This is not about who makes the product. It's not a review. By the way, I always carry my illumination in the form of a head torch on my shoulders here. It is waterproof. If you would rather bury your head torch in the pack, so when you need it, you need to take the pack off and root around for it, that's your choice. On bexbugoutsurvivor, I never tell anyone they're wrong with their decisions. I just try and help you out from my experience. And believe me, I've been in the same boat. I have been in the same boat, and there's probably actually videos on this channel of me putting far too much kit in. Most of it I bought back and never used, and then I'd convinced myself, yeah, it would have been handy just in case. Now, these just in case scenarios, you can go on and on and on and on. What if, what if, what if, and you're catering to it. That is called packing your fears. My fear is never being warm enough at night. I could choose a sleeping bag that is lighter and it wouldn't be as warm, but then I'd sort of be cold all night. Not cold enough to die, just cold, miserable, upset, not happy with myself in the morning, grumpy. This is kit without compromise. I've got a good sleeping bag so I wake up fresh, happy, having had a warm sleep the previous night, not a cold sleep the previous night. I bought myself a decent pad so I've been comfortable. And a lot of people think that air pads are only for comfort. They're not. They increase the warmth underneath you, and I really think that you could get away with a cooler sleeping bag but a warmer pad. But it's going to be a different video. Until next time, take care of yourself. I'll see you out there. I'm going to haul my 9.8 out there and see you next time.